Hello everyone, I think we're live. Welcome to our latest webinar. We're talking tonight about navigating summer with scars, especially if they have come from self-harm. So we're really glad you're here. We hope you're going to ask loads of questions. We've had a few questions already that we're going to speak to. But before we start, we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Jenny Flanagan, and I co-manage Alumina, which is one of the projects hosting tonight. Alumina and Headstrong are both projects of Youthscape, both looking at supporting a kind of mental health and well-being for young people. So yeah, we're really glad that you're here tonight. I'm Jenny, I co-manage Alumina. I'm a psychotherapist and an art therapist, amongst other things, and yeah, it's great to have you here. We hope this is going to be a helpful space for you guys tonight.
Hello, and I'm also Jenny. I'm Jenny Cavendish. So that's why if you can, it's kind of like see our names, it will say Jenny C and Jenny F, because we've got used to doing that. And I'm nearly a psychotherapist, but not yet. So I spend some of my time being nearly a psychotherapist and then some of my time doing Alumina as well. And I'm really excited to do this live stream this evening. I think this is something that lots of people will ask questions to us about, but will kind of say, oh, like, I don't really know, or sort of kind of talk around the edges. And I really hope that we can put out some really helpful information. Yeah. And that this is a space where you really feel permission to think about what works for you. And I think we really want to be able to say, like, kind of what works on one day might not work on the next day, and that's okay. But I hope that we're giving you a space to be able to think about things and to talk about stuff. So welcome. Thanks for making it in this evening.
Yeah.
And I hope
we should probably say as well that we're obviously going to talk about self-harm, so that is a warning if that's a triggering subject for you. You know, we will be talking about that, because we'll be talking about how to manage scars. The other thing is, we're actually doing this on the hottest day of the year so far, maybe the hottest day of the decade. I don't know, someone said maybe the hottest day ever recorded in the UK. I haven't read anything to know if that's true, but it feels like good timing for tonight to be doing that, even though you're probably watching it back on another evening when it's a lot colder. But we are, you know, we're dressed for the heat because it's really hot outside.
So we're here on behalf of Jenny and I share a project called Alumina, but we're also here on behalf of Headstrong, who you might have come across before. And Headstrong is an online project where you can find out everything you need to know about staying mentally and emotionally well. So we hope that you can then have a look at some of the other YouTubes that we've put up and some of the other resources that are available. So you can find us on Instagram or TikTok at Be Headstrong UK, and there's lots of tips and advice for staying well and navigating the challenges that life throws at you and your mental health. I don't know if we have got anything kind of up there yet about managing in the heat, but I imagine that
we definitely have some stuff around scars up on our selfharm.co.uk website. There's definitely a good thing there about managing the summer and scars, but we'll obviously talk a little bit more this evening about that.
Definitely, and we'll have lots more information on the Be Headstrong site that is all about kind of some of the other YouTubes that we're going to be putting out soon. Okay. Fabulous. So beginning by, like, summer is great. Jenny, what's your best thing about the summer?
I mean, I actually love the sunshine, and especially at the moment, I love swimming in the sea on a really hot day. It's just epic. So yeah, that's my favorite thing about summer.
So I used to live kind of, I always make up a random different number here, but about a mile from the sea, basically, until I was 18. And then I moved to the Midlands, which is, if any of you know Birmingham or Coventry or anything, it's literally the furthest place from sea in the country. There's a place called Meriden that's actually the middle of England, and it's so far. And so I'm mildly jealous of you being able to enjoy the sea so easily where you live now.
Yeah. You guys probably have some feelings about the summer. We know that a lot of people don't love the heat, and especially maybe if self-harm is part of your story, it can feel like it makes life really complicated. Yeah, and a lot of people are, like me, going on about how amazing it is, and actually it brings up quite a lot of challenges and some difficult feelings that we want to be really honest about and say they're fine. They're normal. You don't have to love summer. You don't have to love the sunshine. And there are ways to make it a bit more bearable as well.
Definitely. So we kind of want to let you know that the pressure is off when we're thinking about summer.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to what you want to do about summer, when it comes to the choices about the stuff that we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about makeup, we're going to be talking about creams and oils, managing itching, whether or not to cover up, creative clothing options, all kinds of things like that. All the stuff that we lay out, we want to make it really clear that it is your choice what you want to do about summer and how you want to manage this stuff. I guess that's always what we're about. Alumina and Headstrong is never telling you what you need to do, never telling you what the right thing is to do, as if there is one of those things for how to manage summer. But what we want to do is empower you with options and information and understanding so that you can work out what's best for you and you can really own that. Like, this is where I am in my journey right now. It's maybe different to where somebody else is, but the best thing for me right now is to make this call and to do this, but not to do that. So yeah, we really want you guys at the start of tonight to feel like it's your choice. Remember, like, other people who have opinions about it, you might even feel under pressure from other people, but it is really your choice what you do or don't want to do. And this summer, you might feel differently to how you feel next summer or in like 5 summers time. You don't have to know how you're going to feel in the future. All you need to know is how you feel this summer and what's going to be the best choices for you this summer. The other thing to say is that you are not responsible for other people's responses. We know that one of the worst and hardest and most painful parts of the summer actually is that other people make comments, other people make judgments about what you're deciding to do, about what you're showing of your body, what they can see, what they judge to be the story behind it. And that can just feel really hard and really painful. And you are not responsible for other people's responses. We're going to talk a little bit later about, creative ways you might respond, things that you want to might think through ahead of time. But yeah, really hear this at the start. It is not on you to deal with other people's bad attitudes or judgmental attitudes, or just their ignorance, maybe their ignorance and their confusion. They're like not thinking through for a second what it might mean to ask something, how personal a question something is, drawing everyone's attention to it. People might not be doing that in a malicious way. They might be doing it just in a kind of an ignorant way, or even in a well-meaning way. But it's not on you to manage that or to be responsible for how other people are responding. You need to think through what's good for you and what's best for you, what's healthy for you, and not feel like you need to fit into somebody else's version of what is acceptable. Yeah. And I guess related to that, there is no right or wrong. Like I said, there is no like right way to navigate the summer. There is no right thing to wear or not to wear at all. So yeah, please don't feel that whatever you decide is going to be like the wrong thing to have done. Maybe just because one other person misunderstands it or judges you, or, there is no right or wrong here. We're all kind of making it up and making the best choices that we can for today and for this summer. And do you know what? Even like the choice that you make about what to do tomorrow on a hot day might be different to what you decide to do at the end of August. That's also fine. You don't have to be consistent. You can decide what's most supportive to you, what's most helpful for you. We really want you to feel empowered to do that, because we know you guys, think about these things and can make good choices. And there's a lot that you know about how to take care of yourselves. So yeah, it's fine to be inconsistent as well. And you can prepare. That is the other thing to say. And I guess this is we want to help you guys do some preparing, do some thinking about the options, maybe some options that you're not aware of. There might be things that you guys share in the chat about great ideas you have, things that you use, things that you say. We would love to hear that if any of you guys want to share that. Yeah, so you can prepare, so it's not going to be you're having to just suddenly make it all up on the spot. Yeah.
So when I was at school, my absolute worst subject was French by kind of a huge stretch. And I don't know if it's the same still now. Some of you will know if you've just done French or German or Spanish at GCSE. But we had to practice a speaking bit. And we had to practice kind of beforehand saying, okay, all right, this is me describing myself. And I worked so hard at practicing it that the only French I can remember now, 20 years later, is simply how I described myself age 16 and where I lived, what my house was like, what colour my hair was, because I spent so long practicing it. And I want to really give you permission to practice beforehand what kind of things you might say if somebody comments on your scars. So I don't know if Jenny, if you kind of do you do the same? Do you sort of practice beforehand if you've got to have a difficult conversation?
Yeah, I definitely think sometimes I write it down. I think that's such a good idea because sometimes, like in the moment, you can just freeze or like. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the thing to whip out your piece of paper on the beach and read out your comment, but I definitely think about things like if they're important like that, just to make sure that like I get a chance at saying the thing that I.
Definitely.
And Izzy's asked, is this just things we do when someone asks about scars? So we're going to talk about lots of other things right now, Izzy, but this moment now, we're starting off with thinking about what we would say. But if there's a different kind of conversation that you're wondering about, like what to say in, like let us know in the chat so we can think about that together as well.
And I think it's so helpful to kind of have an idea of what your saying is going to be. So some people will say something like, oh, I wasn't very well, and these are the marks that are left from me not being very well. Some people will say, I don't know. It was the cat. It was a dinosaur. I was attacked by a whale. All these kind of things. And I think so much of what you might think about saying depends on who the people are that you're having a conversation with. So I got married last summer. Loads and loads of people at our wedding who hadn't seen each other for a few months. And I think when you haven't seen somebody and you're all dressed up a bit like that, sometimes it can be a bit more frightening to then think, what on earth am I going to say if my aunt asks, rather than what I might say to somebody from my school who sees something that I've put in a picture that I've put on Instagram, that kind of thing. And Becky makes a really good point that definitely, as soon as you're honest, some people aren't able to hold that. And it can feel really awkward and it can feel like everybody's gone silent and nobody knows what to say. So I wonder whether it's even helpful to then think, I'll plan the next bit as well. So I might want to say, yeah, my scars are from self-harm and I'm working on living a life free from it. Or my scars are from self-harm, I don't need any help. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Or, and I'm seeing a counsellor now. So anything that then makes you feel like if there's silence, I've said everything I need to in this moment. Because other people's reactions aren't our responsibility. But sometimes we can feel like I have to make everything okay for everybody else. And almost that's the way that we're kind of conditioned to feel, it's the way that people can make us feel. But if you think, actually, in this situation, I can't manage or I don't want to manage what people might say afterwards or how the situation might play out afterwards, then it's okay to have something different. That is like, I'm not ready to talk about that right now. I don't want to talk about that. Or I don't know what you said. Sorry, let's move on. It's okay for you to take control of the situation and then move it on to something different as well. I don't know what you're talking about. What scars? Anything like this.
Peanut Butter Cobra has a good point here as well. It says, but there have been times when I've had to make an excuse. So my go-to is now the cat, but that's usually only when I'm talking to my grandma or my little sister. But that's such a good point, because actually there are some people who will ask, who we're totally not going to tell them about the self-harm, like, because it's either inappropriate or would just be so distressing to them or just not a helpful conversation to have. That's also fine to know that, and to have something like the cat, or it's some injuries that I got a long time ago, or just something that kind of ends the conversation. So don't feel like you have to account for them as well. You might just want to say, that's actually not something I want to talk about right now. You don't have to say anything. But it is difficult. We totally hear that. Izzy says, people make so many assumptions and keep asking more questions and make you feel disgusting, like it's my body. Yeah, absolutely. And I think don't feel afraid to close the conversation and go, do you know what? This isn't a conversation that I want to have right now. So yeah, let's talk about something else, rather than feeling it's on you. You know, you can say something if you feel like that's all right for you, but you don't have to say anything. You can say, that's not a conversation that I want to have here. So let's talk about something else. And then Becky says, oh, it's difficult because on the one hand, it's none of their business, but on the other hand, maybe they are concerned and genuinely want to know I'm okay. Yeah. And, you know, and you can judge that. You can judge like who it is, how well they know you, how much you trust them, if that's something that you want to acknowledge. And you can say, I get that it can look a bit scary, Maureen, but it's okay. You know, I'm okay. I'm talking to someone about it. So, you know, yeah.
And you also don't have to have the conversation in that moment.
Yeah.
If you're thrown by somebody saying something, or you think actually other people are going to hear, I trust the person that's asked, but I don't trust all the other people that they are with, or anything like that, it's totally okay to say, maybe we'll talk about this later, and message them at some other point, doing whatever it is that makes it feel comfortable for you. So Tanya says a lot of people say it's attention seeking, and that's such a hard thing to have to manage, because so often when people don't understand, or they're frightened, or they kind of go, I don't know what to say, they end up saying something that can feel so hurtful to us, because we know what's going on for us. Yeah. And it's also okay at that point to put in boundaries with anybody and just say, we're not talking about this anymore.
Yeah. So that example about attention seeking, completely unhelpful thing in any situation. Just to say that about self-harm, it's completely unhelpful. Other things that might be really unhelpful might be something else that's just kind of judgmental or dismissive. Like, you know, if you're feeling generous, you might want to say, I just don't think that is a helpful way to think about self-harm, but in any situation. You're entitled to your opinion. That's not what I think about it, and change the subject. But you also don't have to, you know, if that's not a very kind thing to say. You can just walk away or be like, I'm not going to have this conversation here.
One of my absolute favourites, if you're feeling up for it, is to say, did you mean to be that rude? And
yeah,
just kind of name it out to somebody.
Like, wow, that's really rude.
Like, what gives you the right to say that? And hold your head high and move on.
Yeah. They don't seem like a good person to like stick around and have a conversation with. Minnie Mouse says, what should you do about people at school? I'm always worried about triggering others because I know I'm not the only one who has been through that. That's a really good question. And Emily says there's sometimes a stereotype, I guess, that people who self-harm are attention seeking, and that if you decide to have your scars showing, then you are showing them off. Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that to think through. Like, to be aware that if you show your scars, and that might be like a great choice for you to make this summer, but if you decide to do that for whatever reason, there is a chance that somebody will think it is attention seeking. So it's good to like be prepared for that. That doesn't mean that what they're saying is right or is valid or it's not rude and judgmental, but it's good to psychologically prepare. Like, someone might say that, I should know that someone's going to say that, and so I should think about what I'm going to say in return, and make sure that I feel like I can deal with that. Because if you feel like someone saying that to me is just going to demolish me and make me feel awful, then maybe it's a better choice not to show them as a way of like looking after yourself. And in terms of the triggering others, yeah, that is something to think through. Absolutely. It's one of the things that we have to think about. There are a lot of people in this world with self-harm scars, so you are not going to be the only person like responsible for introducing that into the public realm. But yeah, if you're going to be somewhere where there's like different family members, young kids, yeah, just make sure you've thought about it. I guess this is the thing that's more important than anything. Just think about it. Think who's going to be there. And so, and I guess this relates to this slide as well, self-harm and secrecy. We know that a lot of people self-harm secretly. It's not something that they make a big show of. It's not actually attention seeking a lot of the time, because a lot of people keep it a secret or make sure that no one ever sees, because they don't want to find out. They don't want to upset their family. They don't want to be seen as attention seeking. They don't want They don't know how to talk about it. There's lots of reasons why we keep it secret. And of course, wearing clothes, for example, where our scars are out, kind of ends that secrecy, certainly on that day and with those people. And so it's a choice to make. It's not something to do just without thinking, because it has implications. So yeah, it's absolutely worth thinking about. What are the risks if I wear a swimsuit today and people see my scars and people notice them? What are the things that can happen? Is that okay? How will I deal with that? There's something about in school. I guess there's a conversation that sometimes happens in school and that teachers and people might have an opinion on in terms of that. But when it's you at the beach or you at the swimming pool or you out with your friends, it's really up to you. And as long as you've thought about it and thought about, I guess think about it from your perspective, before you'd self-harmed, if you'd seen somebody with scars, what would that have been like for you? What would it made you think? Would it have raised questions for you? Would it have been unhelpful, or would you have been able to kind of make sense of it? So yeah, to think those things through, so that I've worked with a lot of teenagers whose parents found out about it because they went on holiday in the summer or because they went in a changing room together and they saw the scars. And that's a really big moment, when your parents find out about it. And you don't want that to happen almost accidentally. You want to think about, I would suggest, how to have that conversation and how they're going to find out, rather than suddenly being put in a middle of a really difficult conversation. I don't know. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was thinking about how it might feel okay when we're with certain people, and like in that moment it feels okay, but it's also all right to say, I don't want other people to know. So actually, if I'm at the park with some friends, I'm okay with them knowing about self-harm scars, but I might say to them, I don't want you to take photos and put them online that are going to mean other people are going to see, that kind of thing. So it's also all right to say, sort of, I'm happy for you group of people to be okay, because I know between us we are all okay with this, but I'm not okay with people outside of this knowing. And that may well be the same kind of thing with school, or it might be the same as other people that are around you. I'm thinking of things like, if you've got a family wedding going on or some kind of big family event, you may well want to have a conversation with other people in your household who know about your self-harm in case they are asked. So sort of like great aunt may well not come up to you and say, oh, what's going on? But they might go up to mum. And so you may well want to practice with sort of like an adult at home, if someone knows about the self-harm and it's someone that you can trust, and agree with them what they will say.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to also tell everybody, like everyone doesn't have to find out, because you've done really well at hiding it in the way that you feel comfortable and someone else has told them, that kind of thing. So that goes for sort of extended family members, friends, anything like that. Especially if there are times kind of happening, you may well want to practice what other people will say as well, or what friends will say, or anything like this.
Yeah.
I love the comment that Peanut Butter Cobra's put about sort of not attention seeking, but attention needy. Because I think we all need attention, don't we? Attention gets a bit of a bad press. Of a bit like, if I'm saying I need some attention from somebody, that's a bad thing. But like earlier on, I had to say to my husband, I need you to cook dinner because I've got too much going on. And that was me kind of getting his attention by saying, I haven't got time to cook dinner. It's up to you. And I don't think that he saw that as me kind of as a bad thing. He saw that as, yeah, that's fair. That's okay. But as soon as attention becomes about how we're feeling, we can get a bit like, oh, it's not okay for me to need some support right now. And so it's okay also to kind of say, actually, I need to take up space here and have these conversations now so that we are all prepared for how this is going to affect me. It's okay to practice it with people that you really trust and kind of say to them, yeah, okay, actually, this is what it is that we've agreed.
Yeah.
One of my absolute favourite writers, and I think, Jenny, you've read some of her stuff too, is Brene Brown. And she talks about people earning our trust. So she uses a metaphor of like a marble jar. And when people, we know we can trust them, it's like putting marbles in the marble jar. And you will have people in your life who you know are trustworthy. And you're like, yeah, okay, I'm happy to talk about my self-harm for them. But if they are strangers, if they're people on social media who are commenting about your scars and you don't know who they are, if they're people who are saying really negative things, anything like this, you do not need to explain things to them.
Yeah.
It's okay to block people online if they're saying things that aren't helpful for you.
Yeah.
It's okay to metaphorically put up boundaries with people and say, I'm not ready to have this conversation now. But especially if they're strangers or they're people that have no kind of marbles in the marble jar of trust with you.
Yeah, exactly. So as the slide says, you don't owe strangers an explanation. Don't feel that you need to say anything. Don't feel you need to respond. Again, maybe think about what you'd say, like, I don't know you and I'm not going to have this conversation with you. But don't feel that you need to give strangers an explanation. There's always a risk, of course, with like people that we do know that, you know, that it will get spread. We might say to our friends, look, who maybe notice your scars, I'd rather everyone didn't know about this. And maybe a lot of our friends will honour that, but there's no way of knowing for sure that it won't then get around a bigger group of people. So I guess we have to think about that risk before we do it. But yeah, we absolutely don't owe strangers an explanation. So we're going to talk about a few practicalities here. And I've just noticed as well, Tanya says, if people self-harm for attention, I don't think it's a bad thing because they obviously need help, which, yes, exactly. That's exactly what we were saying. Like, yeah, it can be a way of communicating that actually we need help. And the most unhelpful thing is to ever say, dismiss it and like invalidate. Because, you know, for us, I guess as we understand self-harm, it's always a way of dealing with distress and pain and things that are really hard. And so to like invalidate that and dismiss that is never going to be helpful and supportive for anyone. So yes, Tanya, you're right on the money. So let's talk about some practicalities. You might know that your scars get more itchy in the heat. So yeah, any kind of scars, whatever they come from, generally get more itchy in the heat, and that can be really annoying and really uncomfortable, especially on an insanely hot day like today. So what can you do about it? Well, they are definitely more itchy when they are suntanned or sunburnt. So like suntan lotion is really, really important. If they're going to be exposed even slightly anywhere near the sun, suntan lotion is really important, a really high factor. Because obviously like the more itchy they are, like the more attention is going to be on them if you're having to like kind of rub them and scratch them. So if you want them to kind of go under the radar, help yourself out with suntan lotion, definitely. But even if they're not going to be exposed to the sun, like there's loads of lotions and creams out there that help. We're not being sponsored by anyone to like endorse a particular brand. Yeah, Peanut Butter Cobra says, my scars turn bright red when I burn in the sun. Yeah, absolutely. So the skin is more sensitive there. So you really need to and that will make them stand out more as well. So suntan lotion is like #1 priority. But also there's different oils and creams out there that just help to keep them moisturized, which is good. I mean, it's good in the winter as well when it's cold, because that can be really harsh on your skin. But like, I guess in extremes of temperature, either way, creams and oils are going to help. And they're also going to help actually to often to make them less visible. So there's things like bio oil, and there's all kinds of things that you can Google. If anyone has a recommendation of creams or oils that they find particularly helpful, feel free to put in the chat. But otherwise, yeah, just like a really simple moisturizer that hasn't got kind of loads of really complicated ingredients, or a bio oil or something is just going to help your skin to yeah, to kind of soften and to get rid of some of the visibility of the scars. And suntan lotion is your top tip for getting rid of itching in the summer. Okay, next practicality.
Wound care. So we know that scars heal so much better if you're able to look after them. And I found earlier, I was just having a look to see how easy it was to find different things. And the NHS website, just typing in kind of self-harm care, basically, was really good at saying these are the best things to use, and this is the best way to treat any kind of self-harm injuries. And it listed all kinds of different ways. I think we've kind of primarily talked about cutting, but it listed lots of other things as well. So if you kind of go, I've got no idea how to look after my self-harm, that is a really, really good place. But especially when the weather is hot and we're sweating much more, it's really important that you keep everything clean. So keeping whatever it is that you have used to harm, keeping that clean, using wipes to clean your skin, and anything like kind of gauze or dressing to keep things covered is really, really important. And that's especially important because it's hot at the moment. But also remembering that the more it is that you're able to look after it, then the less scars are there, basically.
And plasters and bandages are also quite good for covering up scars as well. That's also an easy way. You can just there's all kinds of ways to explain away a bandage, aren't there, without anyone actually seeing the wound. So that can be a way to help keep your wounds kind of okay and sterile, but also to cover them up so that they're not going to be seen.
And there's some really good kind of things. I think they're kind of called tubey grips.
Yes.
That people have, if you kind of damaged your knee, if you're running or something, those kind of things. And again, they're brilliant. Lots and lots of people I know use them to kind of to cover when they've self-harmed, because it provides things to keep everything clean, but then also it's just this is the way of covering things for me at the moment.
Minnie Mouse says, is it normal for scars to be completely numb all the time? I was worried about that a few weeks ago, but they are really old. So yes, there can be damage to nerve endings that come about through the injuries from self-harm. So that can lead to less sensitivity in the skin. But if it's something you're worried about, go and see your GP about it. I mean, I'm sure you can Google it as well, but definitely recommend talking to an actual nurse or GP. If you ring up your GP, I imagine that's the kind of conversation that they get you to have with a nurse practitioner. So yeah, don't be shy, ask to have that conversation through your doctors. But yeah, some kind of loss of sensitivity is normal, definitely. So makeup, here's another option. I don't know if any of you guys have used any skin camouflage. So when they're talking about, basically, you can get loads of makeups now which aren't just for your face, but which are for your body. They're generally called skin camouflage, so as not to, because obviously quite a lot of us see makeup as quite a gendered term, even though different genders use makeup. But yeah, skin camouflage, there's quite a lot of companies now that make them, and they're made for the body. They're actually made now so that they are waterproof, so that you can wear them into a swimming pool, so that they're really easy to apply, so that you can just wash them off with soap at the end of the day, reapply straight away, there's no issue. And they're actually, you can get consultations as well, although this has happened a lot less during the pandemic, obviously, but you can actually get consultations to match your skin tone, because these skin camouflage are available for all kinds of scarring, that might come about through surgery or through injuries that you would get in any kind of way. So yeah, you can get consultations, and there are actually a few NHS trusts who will prescribe you skin camouflage if you're recovering from self-harm. I couldn't tell you where in the country they are, but maybe it's worth the conversation. If that's something that you think would be helpful for you, it's worth asking your GP about if they know about it and if they prescribe it. But certainly, so Charlotte says, I tried makeup, but because of the scar texture, it just looked weird. Yeah, so there'll be different brands that will look different. Yeah, so and we're certainly not endorsing a particular brand, but it might be worth something that you want to try, you want to experiment with, maybe experiment with a couple of different brands to see, if that helps, because a lot of people find it helpful, and that it just avoids a lot of conversations that would otherwise feel quite personal and quite difficult for them to have. So that's something to think about. Has anyone else tried any makeup apart from Charlotte? Or skin camouflage, as it's more commonly called? There is actually a British Association of Skin Camouflage, I think, who give loads of advice about it and do camouflage. So you can Google them as well. They have some really good advice about it. Yeah, so I wouldn't use your regular, if you have makeup, regular kind of concealer or makeup that you use on your face, don't use that because it's different kind of stuff. And the stuff that's used for the body is specifically designed to like not aggravate or irritate scars, but to kind of work really well on your body. So yeah, don't just use your concealer, but Google different skin camouflage companies and see if you can, get some samples or try one or two out if that's something that you feel like would make your life easier, because great, who doesn't want to make their life easier? That can be a really helpful thing.
I was talking to somebody recently who had their school prom, and they were just kind of like, oh my goodness, I've got no idea what I'm comfortable wearing for my
Yeah.
school prom or what I'm going to do. And in a kind of similar way to makeup, they settled on using henna, which some people may well have come across. And it's almost like a non-permanent tattoo, really. And it's used in some cultures a huge amount. But it's possible to kind of draw different designs on your skin with it. And that was something that for them felt a really helpful way of kind of not drawing attention to their scars, but also not changing the outfit that they wanted to wear for that. And so that to me feels like a really creative option of something that isn't permanent, but was a really good thing for them. You can't use henna if you've self-harmed recently, but if they're old scars that have been healed for quite a while, then that's something that we hear quite a bit of different people using. But yeah, so lots of people kind of go, oh yeah, I'll try skin camouflage.
Someone here as well says jewelry is my saving grace to cover my scars. Great option. Yeah, I've tried concealer, but the discoloration of the scars showed through. So yeah, absolutely. If you can use, depending obviously on where your scars are, if you can use jewelry or, all kinds of crazy clothing options as well that, will put material or fabric over the right parts of your body, depending on where they are. But bracelets obviously are like super helpful. If that's an area of your body that you're trying to cover up, that can be a really easy way to do that in a way that just looks, really normal. Yeah, and Minnie Mouse loves henna as well. It's a beautiful way. It doesn't matter what culture, ethnicity you are. It's just so pretty.
I think as well, if you're kind of like thinking about the hot weather, especially sort of different kinds of swimwear, I think that things like rash vests and shorts are fabulous because you can choose the length that you want for them. Yeah. And I've got so many friends who are kind of my age that go, oh my goodness, I just don't feel confident going into the water in a bikini or in a swimming costume because I worry about what people are going to think about me. And they always say they feel so much more confident wearing something that just covers more of them.
Yeah.
And I think that more and more people are moving away now from the idea of like, if I'm going in the water, I must wear these certain things. Yeah. So if you've got holidays planned or you kind of like you do a lot of water sports or go swimming or whatever, then it may be that you want to creatively think about, yeah, I'm going to use a rash vest or I'm going to use shorts and this kind of thing because I feel more confident doing this. And I think it's really hard when there's something that we really enjoy doing, like could be kind of swimming or paddleboarding or something like that, and we feel like I can't do it because I've got scars or because I self-harm. So if you can kind of get creative about things like that, that's a brilliant way. Swim skirts as well, anime humans. Yeah, like the netball dresses for your legs, totally.
Yeah, exactly. Some kind of wetsuit as well. Although, in 40-degree heat, you don't really want to be wearing a wetsuit. But then maybe if you're paddleboarding, you're really far out, and so no one can see you anyway. But yeah, I have a long sleeve swimming costume, partly because I swim in the middle of winter, and it just strikes me that it gives me a bit more protection. But yeah, there's loads more different kinds of swimsuits now in swimwear. And maybe, okay, on the hottest day of the year, you feel like you don't want to wear like long sleeves. But, in this country, certainly like a lot of the time, wearing rash vests, wearing like long sleeve swimming costumes or skirts, or all those kinds of things can be super helpful and are more and more normal as well. Like no one's going to be like, oh, why are you wearing long sleeves? Because everyone's doing it.
Definitely. And if you look at, so I lived in Kenya for a little while and I found that everybody would wear kind of looser clothing. So I think if you're in the UK, you'll get this, that we go to, I've got to wear short shorts and a vest top because it's hot. Whereas so many other countries, people will wear sort of a looser shirt and trousers and things. And I'm like, actually, that's so much cooler. So especially if the weather's hot at the moment, like it's okay to also go, no, I'm just a bit cooler wearing clothes like this. I don't recommend being like, I want to keep my arms covered, so I'm going to wear like a jumper or something, because in 40-degree heat, you will only make yourself unwell.
Yeah.
But it's also okay to dress differently to other people around you if that's what it feels like you need to do. And I'm thinking, especially if you've got things coming up where you might have to dress smartly, like going out for dinner with people, graduations, proms, weddings, any kind of parties or anything. It's okay also to think, I'm going to wear something that I know I will feel confident in, rather than I'm going to spend the whole time feeling like, are people looking at me? Is this upsetting them? What are they thinking? Anything like that. Just don't overheat.
One sleeve tops. Oh yeah, nice. Another stylish option on the board. Brilliant.
There was a big fashion. I don't know if you remember this. It was big fashion when I was kind of maybe 5 years ago, for everybody having like fake sleeves. And so they just I wasn't cool enough for fake sleeves. I
clearly wasn't cool enough for them either.
Yeah, but you know, some of you might be like, I'm going to bring them back. I'm going to bring back
like make your own fashion choices. I'm certainly all about the like excellent like flowy dresses, or like, you know, kind of long loose sleeves and like trousers. They look great in the summer.
And if you want a bit of a distraction at the moment, you could be like, I'm going to teach myself how to sew. I'm going to learn how to make my own clothes, adapt other clothes I want, because I need something to keep my hands busy, but then also I need something that's how I feel comfortable with. So it's okay also to like do two things at the same time.
Yeah. So, well, here's a big question to kind of land on. How do you feel about your scars? Because really, this is a really big question, which is kind of at the heart of everything that we've been talked about. And it probably depends about where you are on your journey, if self-harm is part of your past, if it's something that you still struggle with. You know, I know people feel really differently about their scars. Some people see them like, you know, this kind of shows what I've survived and what I've come through. It's part of my story. I own it. Some people, you know, use tattoos as a way of kind of almost like redeeming or changing or kind of transforming something that was painful and difficult into something that they feel more proud about showing. And you might feel like, Anime says, very conflicted. Yeah, absolutely. You might feel like a bit of all of these things. Some of us feel like we absolutely don't want anyone to see our scars, like how mortifying, how horrifying. And we'll probably feel differently about them at different times. And that's fine. But it's a good question to ask yourself, to be like, this summer, how do I feel about them? Am I feeling all right about myself right now? Am I feeling still like a bit vulnerable about them? Like I really do not want to be forced into conversations about them. I'm not sure how I feel about them at the moment, actually, like it changes from day to day. If you can be like, and Tanya says ashamed, yeah, some of us will feel really ashamed about our scars and then what people might assume or judge about us, and so we might not feel like we want anyone to see them. So I guess I'm kind of circling back to where we started, which is like there's no right answer, and what you decide this summer doesn't have to be what you decide for like next summer. You know, actually, as time goes on, your relationship with your scars might change. Your relationship with your body is always changing. And so, you know, what you might feel ready to do or what you might want to do in a couple of years' time might be really different from where you are now. And if you feel like you don't want to have those conversations and you're not ready for people to see them, that's okay. That's really fine. You know now from all the stuff we shared that there are options and there are possibilities, and that, you know, you might make a different choice next year. But it's also fine to say, I am not ready to show people my scars. I don't like them. I'm not ready for people to know that about me. That's also like a fine choice. And part of the journey towards recovery is about, yeah, moving into that space where we're more able to talk about them and to talk about actually the story behind them, because, you know, they're never just a thing on their own, are they? So yeah, that's a journey that we all go on, and we go on it at different speeds and at different times. And I'm aware that I'm missing some comments in these last few minutes. What am I missing, Jen?
So Anime Human saying, I just wish that they weren't there. And I think that's definitely that kind of like, oh, I can really feel that kind of that comment. It's like, yeah, definitely. And I guess we're kind of saying, and that's how things are at the moment, and it's okay. to wish that they weren't there. And things may change, but it's also, as Becky said, kind of like it's a reminder of the bad times and I've overcome them. And maybe sometimes you do feel proud and sometimes you also feel like, I wish they weren't there. Yeah. Minnie Mouse kind of says, actually showing them can be really scary, but the more you do it, the more confident you become. And I think there's something about that definitely happens. The more people see them, and when you are ready, the right people see them, the more you can hold on to, and those people think I'm an okay person and they are okay with my scars.
Yeah. Absolutely. Guys, we've come to the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. If any of you, by any chance, have not come across Alumina and you're looking for support in moving towards recovery from self-harm, please have a look. You can see the websites come up, selfharm.co.uk. We'd love to have you there and to be able to support you in finding your way forward towards recovery. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for great questions and comments, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thank you. You take care.